Hello. Recent statements from President Trump on the Russia Ukraine war and on the role of NATO has been astounding. Also, meetings between President Macron of France and President Trump has also been quite revealing. The possibility of a deal between President Trump and Putin from Russia seems likely, much to the chagrin and fear of the NATO countries, especially France and Germany, the two leading NATO powers in Europe. So, if one assumes there are new theaters of critical importance to the USA, uh, China, the Indo-Pacific, and Latin America are where the bone of contention is going to be in the short term. If one assumes that, then what is the importance of Europe as a theater for the USA? So, what Europe provides the USA and broader Indo-Pacific and Latin American theaters is very limited. So, to tackle the China challenge, EU or NATO is of limited value to the USA, it seems. So, how much does President Trump want to invest into NATO and in the European theater? How much time and energy that sucks up? Is it good or bad? Is the question that one has to weigh in. So, NATO being European centric, North Atlantic by definition, USA and Europe, does not have the USA elsewhere in other theaters, as was very evident in its nominal participation in Afghanistan for 20 years or so. The USA now changing its view on EU and NATO will not weaken the USA and could even make Europe stronger if the European countries address their own security needs with a new framework that might look like NATO but may not involve the USA so much. So, one explanation as to why these changes are coming about is this: the US is perhaps unable to play its traditional role in Europe, thereby trying to redefine now its own security framework for the near term, next 5 to 10 years, for example. And looking at economics now, economically, Europe seems weak now, and its energy problems might be overcome if Russia is back again providing gas. Now, whether the Europeans will trust such new deals with Russia is up in the air. But if Germany starts to build nuclear plants today, and it could take a few years, maybe even a decade, to have them come online, for the future, Germany will have enough energy probably in 5 to 10 years, and German economy might recover in the next 5 to 10 years, probably with Russian gas initially, but on its own nuclear power down the road, that is feasible. So maybe looking at 5 to 10 years of time for Europe to recover, come back on its feet, have maybe enough energy supply, different, and its economic its dependency on exports to China might decrease. So right now, Europe seems economically weak, and the participation in NATO is minimal with the USA as a backstop. That's got to change probably, and President Trump is trying to make that very clear to Europe. The UK, for example, seems like a basket case too, and needs some favorable terms in trade from the USA to hang in there until its economy improves. So, in the short term, Europe is like a drag on the USA in more ways than one. In the long term, Europe might slide down to irrelevance if its economy does not get back to its potential, and if it's not able to address its own security needs in a nice framework of its own. Now, although conservative German leader Federico Merz from the CDU CSU party, the conservative side of things in Germany, he is a leading contender to be heading a new government very soon, maybe in 3 months. Although he's planning to spend $200 billion on defense expenditure for Germany, albeit a little late, it'll be months before it sees the light of day. There's budget laws have to be changed from the constitution. They can't just make deficit financing happen easily in Germany. There's a cap on it. So there's some constitutional issues. It's not easy to just start spending money. And Germany, as we know, has a crumbling infrastructure. Trains don't run on time. A lot of things are not perfect in Germany anymore, so that they have to be addressed. So there's a lot of constitutional issues as well as spending issues for Germany. And if they do come up with $200 billion to spend on armaments and a new definition of its army, then that's going to take some time to see the light of day. As for France, Macron is talking about putting French troops in the Ukraine border after a peacekeeping deal has been made as a peacekeeping force if the war ends. But the details of what exactly constitutes an army, a peacekeeping force on the border with Russia and Ukraine is up in the air, just a concept at this time. So betting on Europe and keeping NATO afloat longer by the USA, is it like betting on a losing horse for the USA? Are the resources and time and energy better spent by President Trump's administration by focusing not on the European theater as much, but in the Indo-Pacific theater and maybe in Latin America, where China has made great inroads in economic terms, and it's got its hands on a lot of different pies in Latin America, for example. So the question is, what is the real threat to the USA in the next 5 to 10 years? Is the real threat from Indo-Pacific theater? Can President Trump make some deal to sort of appease China and cool things down in Indo-Pacific? Even if the terms are not favorable to the USA or to Taiwan, which might be sweating bullets now. So we're living in interesting times where seismic shifts are occurring at a fast pace. We will see history unfolding again. Sorry, Francis Fukuyama, you were rather premature to declare an end to history, just as President George W. Bush was premature to declare a win in 2004 on the deck of a battleship. The war did continue for a decade more and then some. So it's interesting to see how things will evolve. It's happening very fast. Will the USA abandon NATO? Will the French and the Germans put together Eurocentric, yet another NATO lookalike that might take over where NATO leaves its hegemony or its influence over Europe? So interesting times indeed. Let's all watch and see how it evolves. I think it's very monumental what's happening now. So we should all pay attention to it.